Hello everyone. Let me ask you one question. What was the first time travel movie you saw which blew your mind? For me, it was Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. The twists and turns in that movie really had me going, and I was introduced to the time travel concept. I am curious to know about your first time travel movie. Let me know in the comments. Let's start with our today's movie called Frontier. Before moving ahead, be sure to like and subscribe for more movies like this. Also, support us on Patreon. Mikhail Shurov is a Russian businessman. He and his business partner Alex are in the car discussing their business.
Business. Numbers?
They have received multiple calls from Victor, whom they owe money, but Mikhail has plans. The two arrive at the construction site, where their trucks have been stopped by a girl named Elizaveta Tikhanova and a boy named Sergey. They are archaeologists who are finding bodies of those who died in World War II. She was lying in front of the truck, and the Sergey was filming her. Mikhail asks his site manager, Panatov, about the details and then decides to plan a fake accident. The Panatov then orders all drivers to pull back their vehicles. Meanwhile, Alex sits in the car, watching the live broadcast Sergey was filming. Mikhail plucks the flowers and gives them to a girl still sitting on the ground. He sits next to her. He tries to seduce her. She finds him attractive and expresses it to her. Don't take any tips from this movie. In real life, things work differently. However, he taunts her by saying she should go to his house so they can spend time together. Sergey gets embarrassed with his talk and ends the live show. Elizaveta asks Mikhail about love, but he doesn't believe in love. He becomes serious and asks her what she wants. She wants him to stop their work until they complete their excavation and identify all the remains of the fallen. However, Mikhail is not ready to stop his work, as he bought land and dealt with all financial matters. Meanwhile, Panatov was planning the fake accident. He removes the driver from the car and presses the accelerator, and the truck starts moving on its own. Elizaveta takes Mikhail underground to show him the remains of the deceased from World War II. When Germany attacked Russia and eliminated hundreds of soldiers, she tells him they found perfume near the deceased woman. One captain used a pistol on himself, which is still there. She shows him a letter from a woman who survived the war but died in 1990. She shows Mikhail Alexei Shurov's ID card. Since Mikhail and Alexei share the same last name, she believes they are related. He disagrees with her and clarifies that his father was from an orphanage. The truck arrives near their dugout and is about to hit them. Sergey manages to stop the truck, but in a hurry, Mikhail tries to pull the handle, and suddenly he enters the portal and finds himself in the war zone. Mikhail has traveled back in time to when World War II was going on. He could see soldiers and bodies everywhere, but he was invisible to everyone. He believes he is in the afterlife. Germany was attacking Russian soldiers. He sees a soldier and tries to talk to him, but he can't see him. He still has the handle in his hand from pulling, which traveled back in time. By following the soldier, he arrives in the same dugout and tries to find the lock to put the handle on while the soldier is discussing the war situation. Commissioner Alexei Shurov, who Elizaveta claimed to be a relative of Mikhail, orders the commander to take all the girls to a safe place. They shifted the girls to the boat. Olga, who was the wife of Boris Grachov, was also there, giving Boris a tiny pistol, which Elizaveta showed Mikhail earlier. He also enters the same boat. Suddenly, the boat gets attacked and falls into the water, but somehow manages to reach the land. At the same moment, Olga and another woman save the boat and leave that place. Mikhail returns to the land, and by following the commissioner, he is about to arrive at another dugout when something hits him and he falls to the ground, waking up in the present. He saw an ambulance nearby, and Elizaveta's body was on a stretcher. The doctor was calling his name, but suddenly he woke up in the past. The enemy has taken over all the places. The Russian soldiers are gone. The group of soldiers, including the woman with perfume, and the commissioner enter the dugout, where Mikhail follows them. They were surrounded by the enemy, so the whole group decided to self-destruct. Mikhail tries to stop them, but he suddenly wakes up in the present. Realizing he was here all the time, he gets upset after finding out that his plan for a fake accident has hurt Elizaveta. Alex and Mikhail meet their business partner named Victor at lunch on yacht, who is angry at them because they haven't completed the contract they have signed with him. Panatov arrives, telling Mikhail about Elizaveta's serious medical condition, which makes him worried. He saw visions from the past of the war zone in front of him. Later that day, he goes to the hospital to see Elizaveta and meet Sergey on the lift. He warns Sergey not to get close to her. Elizaveta's parents were crying when Sergey comforted them. Elizaveta's mom informs Mikhail that she is in a coma and only doctors are allowed inside her room. He went to the roof to tie himself with rope and entered Elizaveta's room through the back window. He apologizes to her for the accident, and everyone sees him and they call the doctor, who takes him away. Before leaving, he introduces himself to her parents as their future son-in-law. Seriously, he was responsible for her condition and still he wants to be with her? He is really savage. Mikhail goes to meet his father at his old home. He was in a wheelchair on the beach. While spending time, Mikhail questions him about his past and if he knows any other Shurov, but he gets angry and reminds him they do not have any relatives. He was born in 1943 when the war was going on, so his family put him in an orphanage. He got his last name from the nurse who took care of him. His father reminds him that love is a weakness. What people call love is just a chemical reaction that compels animals to breed. It hits hard but slowly fades away, leaving in stranded failing marriage.
I did it. Your parents are gonna do it. Break the cycle, Morty.
Later, in the car, suddenly he saw a storm in front of his car, where he saw visions of war. He makes a run, but that vision storm follows him in the street, and he enters the room where orphans' records are kept. He meets a girl who works there. He asks her for his father's Shurov Nakaloye record. She starts finding it. At the same moment, he sees Nurse Shura, who adopted Mikhail's father, putting his father's documents under the rack. In the present, the girl informs him that his father's documents have been lost. It is because in 1962, someone else also checked Shurov Nakaloy's records. He checks the place he saw in his vision and finds records of his grandparents. His both grandparents were born in 1927. Mikhail arrives at the hospital and talks to Elizaveta, who is still in a coma. He tells her she was wrong about his family and that he does not belong to the Shurov commissioner who died in World War II. It is because Mikhail saw that Alexei Shurov is actually 40 years old, but his grandfather was born in 1927, which makes him 16 years old at the time of World War. Outside the room, he meets Sergei, and the two get into a fight when Sergei tells him that his grandfather had 2 sons, and they find that through letters from that dugout. He takes the address from those letters and arrives at the location. At the location, he was about to enter the house when suddenly the vision storm appeared in front of him, where he saw soldiers in the war again. Suddenly his head hit the road, and he saw himself in another time period where children were playing football. However, suddenly he returns to the present, where a car is about to hit him, and the driver gets mad at him as he is sitting in the middle of the road. He then goes to the doctor to have a brain scan, but everything is all right. He receives a call from the manager, who informs him about some situation at work. He arrives at the site where Sergei has again created a scene. He wants them to stop work to at least give a proper burial to the deceased, but Mikhail thinks their deaths are meaningless. Sergei gives him a paper containing the ID of another Shurov. He reads Pavel Shurov's name on the paper and again finds himself in the past, where thousands of soldiers were standing in line. It was difficult to find Shurov. The soldiers are ready to leave for the lining. Mikhail joins them on a boat, and suddenly they get attacked by the enemy. Mikhail becomes shocked when he gets wounded. He finds out there are 2 Pavels on the ship. However, it is difficult to find the real one. He followed them all the time when they were fighting the enemy. He finds Pavel Shurov when their senior soldier gets injured, and Shurov manages to take him to the hospital on the other side of the land, which impresses Mikhail. But on returning to the front lines, he gets attacked, and before dying, Pavel Shurov gives Mikhail a binoculars that he was using during the war. He wants him to return it to his mom Efimova and give him an address. He also gets injured due to the attack, and suddenly he wakes up in the present. Sergei and Penedov were watching him. He asks Sergei for the binoculars they got from the dugout, which shocks Sergei. Mikhail finally arrives at that address given by Pavel Shurov. A lady opens the door. He shows her the address where Efimova was written, and the lady remembers it as her grandmother's name. When he enters the house, he enters the portal, where he sees Shurov's mom giving food to the children. When Shurov's brother, Alexei, which is Mikhail's real grandfather, gets ready to leave for Warzone to find his dad and brother. But mother is not willing to send him, and she slaps him for his decision, but he leaves anyway. Later, he finds himself in the present, where Grandma explains to her that Pavel Shurov and Alexei Shurov were the sons of Masha, who was living near their building, and she was an army doctor, but the whole family died in war. She has their pictures on the wall. Alexei had a son, but he never knew it. They find out through letters Alexei's girlfriend has written for her in which she is informed about the baby. She thought if he knew he had a son, then he would come back, but he never did. He then realized the baby was his father, and Alexei Shurov is his grandfather. He takes the letter. Mikhail was going to his house when he met Alex on the way, who put a gun to his head, asking for orders to resume work as they owe 10 million to Victor. He put Mikhail in his car's trunk at gunpoint and took him to the site location of work. In the trunk, he receives a message from Sergei about Elizaveta, whom doctors are removing from life support. He manages to jump from the moving car on the road and arrives at the hospital. Here's the plot twist. In the hospital, Mikhail sees himself on the ventilator, while Elizaveta was doing well and getting discharged. The doctor was about to declare him dead when he decided to enter the portal to deliver the letter. He takes out the letter and arrives in time. He saw his grandfather Alexei and followed him while he was fighting. Alexei eliminates everyone and prepares a victory flag. Mikhail tries to give him a letter, but he is not able to. Later, enemies arrive to attack Alexei, but he manages to eliminate them in the fight, and Mikhail gets a bullet and becomes visible to him. Before dying, he delivers a letter to his grandfather, telling him that he has a son, and he should go back home to take care of his family. He also reveals that he is his grandson. At present, he wakes up in the hospital, where Elizaveta and his father are waiting for him. His father seems very happy, indicating that Mikhail's plan to give a letter to his grandfather and bring him home to take care of his family was successful. That's all for today. Let me know what you think about the movie. Be sure to like and subscribe for more movies like this.